Hi, everybody. So for this one, who jumped farther? We're going to be on page 43 and page 44 here. Okay. So to let you know, we are going to be using all of these grids. Go ahead and take a pencil and separate them out because every two grids will be used for one person in the story problem. We see here we're talking about Tom, Steve, and Geo, each jumping in a jumping contest. They measure their jumps and then discuss who jumped farther. So before we move on, Tom, Steve, Geo, for the purpose of moving this along, let's go ahead and write Tom right here, Steve, and Geo. Okay? All three people put in quotes. So they're discussing who jumped farther, which means we're looking for greater. Okay? In terms of distance, farther is going to mean greater. Tom said, I jumped 34 hundredths of a meter. Steve said, I jumped 1 43 hundredths of a meter. Geo says, I jumped 1 4/10 of a meter. So what it wants you to do for every single question, A through C, you're going to model using the decimal grids on the back and writing a comparison statement using this greater than, the less than, or the equal to. Okay? So it's going to ask, of course, who jumped farther between Tom and Steve, Tom Geo, and Steve and Geo. Right now, it's going to be impossible to do this with the grids until we turn it over. So remember, Tom is 1 34 hundredths of a meter. So what we need to do is on this page, we're going to shade in the entire one hole. So actually, let's, before I forget, let's remind ourselves what we're doing. Let's write our number in here. 1 and 34, 1 and 34 hundredths, okay? So this entire grid here is going to be shaded in. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want to make sure that students understand that this entire grid needs to be shaded in to represent one hole. Here, we have a 3 in our tenths place and a 4 in our hundredths place. We're going to shade in 3 of the columns first. 1/10. Here's 2/10 because 10 of the columns make up one whole grid. 3/10, and now 4/100. 1/100, 2/100, 3/100, 4/100. These are the tenths, these columns, because 10 of them make up one whole grid. These are the hundredths place because 100 of these little squares make up a whole grid. So here we have 1 and, we'll put it over here, 34 hundredths. Okay? This is Tom's time, 1 34 hundredths. So now let's see. Steve said he jumped 1 43 hundredths. So 1 and 43 hundredths. That decimal you say is and. So here we know that this entire grid is going to be shaded in again. Go ahead and shade the entire thing in. For the interest of time, I'm just going to acknowledge that, yep, this is all shaded in. 43 hundredths, the difference between these two, you'll see. 1/10 needs to be shaded in, and another one, and one last one. 4/10 have been shaded in here, and then 3 more hundredths. 4/10, and now 3 hundredths. Okay, so you're going to write 1 and 43 hundredths. Okay, now Geo, turn back. He says, I jumped 1 4/10 of a meter. Again, one whole meter shaded in. Doesn't have to be beautiful, but we understand that it is one whole. 1 4/10. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, and here we stop at 4/10. 1 and 4